Welcome to this edition of Your Mac Life, show number 1217 for June the 12th. I'm your host, Shawn King, joined as always by my lovely, beautiful wife. Hot and sweaty, beautiful wife. In a good way, of course.
Hi.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Melissa.
Thank you. Melissa, it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit here in the Vancouver area. About 30 degrees Celsius for those who are civilized. We've had this really weird burst of heat today.
Yeah.
We had my friends, now Melissa's friends, Cammie and Kelly. Kelly, you guys remember Kelly? Kelly from Nashville. Kelly came for a visit over the weekend. And it was actually chilly in the evenings.
Yeah.
We have a very funny picture of poor little Cammie. Got a blanket wrapped around her. She got a hoodie on, and she's freezing.
It's very cute.
Cammie's
visit to Canada in the summer.
And but yeah, today for some bizarre reason it got stupid hot.
It is. Yesterday was pretty hot too.
It was, but not as hot as today. But it's going to cool off tomorrow, so it's
lovely. I didn't realize
it's going back to our normal 70, our normal 22, 23.
Good
Tomorrow.
Good.
Thank goodness for that. On tonight's show, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com, as we always do on Wednesday evenings. I can talk about Uber Air. Have you heard about Uber? You know what Uber is, right?
Yes.
Have you heard of Uber Air?
No. What, you get an airplane to come pick you up?
Exactly. It's an air taxi.
Wow.
A autonomous air taxi. Uh-huh.
Oh. My. All right.
They're going to be doing test flights in Dallas, Los Angeles, and somewhere else, Melbourne, Australia, in 2023. So in 4 years, these guys think they'll be able to have self-contained, autonomous flying vehicles that will ferry you around. No.
I don't think so.
Not
I don't like
happen.
that idea
It's not
going
to happen.
Okay.
Even if it did happen, I ain't getting in one.
Yeah, but if you were in a plane that wasn't autonomous in the air, you're still kind of in danger from it, aren't you? A bit.
I think it's a good rule of thumb that the smaller the vehicle. Now, granted, we all know air transportation is the safest way of traveling, right? For the number of miles to the number of accidents, injuries, and/or deaths is minuscule compared to every other form of travel.
Right.
And I shouldn't complain about this because I ride a motorcycle, which is one of the most dangerous ways of traveling. Yet, I still do not like the idea of flying in general, and certainly not in a autonomous plane.
No.
With no pilot. No.
No.
Not going to. Talk to Jim about that. Talk to Jim about Apple and privacy and whether it's actually Apple is making a big push. They're drawing this really deep, long line in the sand that says privacy is going to be the hill we die on. We are going to make privacy be a factor in all of our software. We are going to make privacy a factor in the way we do things. We're going to make privacy a central issue in the way we do things. And it's not just a marketing thing. They actually mean this. The problem is, are they going to be allowed to get away with it? Is the government going to let them do it? Because the problem with privacy is that it means, to a certain degree, Apple's going to have more control over us. And do we trust Apple to have that kind of control over it? It's a tough question. But, in my opinion, if there's any company that can be trusted with my data, it's Apple. I don't trust Google. I don't trust Facebook. I don't trust Amazon. I don't trust the government. But for whatever reason, I trust Apple. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But we'll talk to Jim. Jim and I recorded that this afternoon because we have to. Because you guys don't realize, just looking, except for Sherry and Melissa, tonight is Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. It is the St. Louis Blues versus the Boston Bruins. No Canadian teams.
That's always sad.
Lots of Canadians on both teams, but no Canadian teams. So we had to record Jim's segment early because it would have been right in the middle of the second period. Our usual time, the game starts it's already started. I think it starts at 5:30. So the game would have already started, and we don't know how Jim would react I don't know if he'd react well or badly. Even if his team was winning, maybe he wouldn't react well.
Now, is he a St. Louis Blues guy?
No.
Or he's a Boston Bruins
guy? Oh, God,
guy?
yes. As he says, he's been a Boston Bruins fan since he was 5.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, okay.
he will either be if he's like Sly, he will be a complete basket case.
Yeah. See, I don't like watching hockey with people like that. Sorry. It's fine. I know people are very passionate about it, and I used to be too. I did. But, I don't know. Yeah, I guess he takes it very seriously.
Very seriously.
Okay.
He and Sly had to be separated virtually on Twitter 2 years ago because the Canucks and the Bruins were playing. And it got ugly between them. And I had to jump in private message to both of them going, you guys knock it off. Just don't talk to each other. Because there was name calling. There was serious, not even pleasant ha-ha pokey fun. It was serious and ugly.
I mean,
because one of the problems is that the Bruins have a guy on their team, a little rat-faced bastard called Marchand. And
I know Marchand.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that everybody wants in their team.
Mm-hmm,
Whereas on the other team, you hate his guts.
Exactly.
He's a dirty player. He's a weasel. He's just not a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Marchand did something to one of the Canuck players and Jim and Sly. So I instant message or direct message both of them going, knock it off, you two. Block each other, unfollow each other on Twitter, whatever you got to do until it's over. So yeah,
just a game.
I'm the same way. I love sports in general, and I'll watch almost any sport, but I get excited in the moment for the event, but I don't get fanatical about anything. And I love the New York Yankees. I've always loved the New York Yankees, almost as long as Jim's loved the Bruins. But if they I think the thing for me is I've got perspective. If they win or lose, it's got nothing to do with me.
It doesn't. People
you see these people going,
personally,
we won. No, you didn't do shit.
You didn't do anything. You paid for a ticket, maybe.
You sat in your couch and ate tacos, dude. You didn't do anything. And the other thing is, when you get to that level of excitement over this stuff, in a league like the NHL, there are 30 teams. 29 of them lose every year.
Mm-hmm.
So the odds are your team is going to lose every year, a la the Canucks. So getting all excited about it and then having just crash when your team fails is just not worth it for me. It's just absolutely not worth it.
I mean, I remember when I was a diehard Canuck fan, which I was for years, and I would get a little bit excited when I think, oh, it's a game tonight, especially during the playoffs. I'd, be like a little bit, oh, that's right, we get to go home and make pizza and watch the game.
Yep.
And it was always a little bit of geez, they lost. But then I kind of moved on with my life. It was fine. It was
it's a shame.
It's a shame. Well, maybe they'll win next time,
I'm not going to go rioting or throw things at the TV.
Crazy.
It was worse in a very regional kind of way when I lived in Nashville and saw people, how insane they got over college football, especially the SEC. Alabama and Auburn is just a dangerous rivalry. People have been shot and killed.
Oh, my gosh.
Because of the Alabama-Auburn rivalry. Ridiculous. And the thing is, we'll see what happens in any second now, because Monty is almost as bad with his Georgia Tech fanaticism. He'll defend himself.
Oh.
But he loves Georgia Tech, the university.
Oh.
But it's, I don't understand that kind of reaction. As Sherry says, like, are you on the payroll? Why are you so invested?
Yeah.
I don't get invested at that level, that's for sure.
Oh no, nor I.
Anyway, we'll talk to Jim about that. That's why we had to do the show early. I have a question with Melissa. Tonight's question is,
I just want to have a question period about the AirPods. Oh, am I asking it now?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're teasing this is called a tease.
Oh, it's my teaser
so
is
the audience
AirPods.
can be excited about what's going to happen later.
I will try and make my questions more exciting. Sometimes I have to kind of dig deep to think what I'm going to ask.
You don't have to do that, though. It's honestly a segment where Melissa is the representative for all those non-techies, for all those average people who are smart enough to know what they don't know and are curious about something. It doesn't have to be a insightful, brilliant question.
Okay.
It can be.
This certainly isn't.
It can be anything that you are just interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And then in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about shooting portraits of friends.
Oh,
How to shoot? It brought it up because, like I said, our friends Cammie and Kelly were here over the weekend, and our other friend Corey took a picture of us, and it was awful.
It was. I looked disgusting. I mean, I looked just picture. Dull and old and horrible.
And now I haven't seen Kelly in 12 years. I'm liable not to know Kelly 18, and Cammie.
Sweetheart.
Is it 18? No.
She said, if anyone had have told me 18 years ago that I would have been...
When we first met.
Oh.
I left Nashville in 2007. So it would have been the last time I saw Kelly.
Okay. What?
I always have to correct you.
Oh, no, Kelly had said that, and I thought, I think Shawn's got it wrong.
She meant 18 years since we met.
Since she met, I see.
So, and it's liable to be that long again before I meet her and see her again. So
probably.
We wanted to take a picture
busy.
of the four of us. Me, Kelly, Cammie, and Melissa. So our friend Corey takes my camera and takes a picture, and I could just tell from where Corey was standing it was going to be a terrible picture. And we're off center by 2 feet.
And she was so sweet. She was going, "Oh, you guys are so cute." She was really into it. And then she tried again.
And
I
gently reminded her, I said, because she had taken my class. I said, "Corey, are you close enough?" And she went, "Oh, that's right." And she walked a couple inches, feet closer, took the picture, and then off she went. I didn't want to look at her right away. I should have.
You should have.
I looked at the picture.
But then you could have taught her.
Yeah. Then I looked at the picture and went, "Oh, crap." So this gave me the idea of talking to you folks about shooting family and friends, shooting portraits of family and friends, and what to look for in order to make them happen very quickly.
I think yes. Well, I would like to show some. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
No,
Go on.
You would like to what?
Well, I just since learning so much from you, I am taking beautiful pictures of us together and the boys, and
like all fun. Of this stuff. When you practice, when you learn it, you focus on it, you think about it, and you practice it. It becomes easier and faster.
It actually does.
You're no longer futzing around trying to figure this stuff out. Melissa knows now. She goes to portrait mode on her camera.
I do.
It tells her to move closer. You move closer, move further away, and boom, you take the picture because you're already thinking about the edges. You're thinking about all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk.
I'm thinking about Snapseed more. I'm going into Snapseed more.
Yep,
it's kind of cool.
So we'll talk about all that and much more coming up later on in the show. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome very much to the Your Mac Life show. This is a pre-recorded episode. We're actually, Jim and I are doing this on Wednesday afternoon. A little unusual, if only because, and this is how important this is to Canadians, it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final this evening. St. Louis Blues against Jim's beloved Boston Bruins, and we don't want him crying on the air. That's the why we doing this pre-recorded.
Because I'll be so happy that we won.
I can't see it happening, man. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
I did predict it was going to go to Game 7, though, didn't I? I told you that.
Yeah, you did.
I did. Yeah. So there's no reason to believe my other predictions won't come true.
Hey, just back off. I'm drinking water right now. I haven't even had a beer, so...
Yeah. Are you that tense about this?
Oh...
And you are a fan of all Boston sports, too, right? You like the Patriots, you like the Celtics, you like the Red Sox.
It's just Boston.
Yeah, you're just weird. You never lived there, did you?
No.
Okay.
No, never did.
I think we talked before you're a big Boston fan because your dad was a Boston fan, wasn't he?
No, he's a Montreal fan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I knew I liked Pops for a reason.
Yeah. So, and my mother, too, is a Boston fan.
No,
I'm sorry, I'm a Montreal fan.
A Montreal fan, yeah, exactly. So you're just doing it to spite your parents. You're a grown-ass man. You're still spiting your parents.
Well, I've been a Boston. So I'm not a bandwagon guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
I've been there for, 46 years?
As they say, you're loyal to the soil.
Yep.
Our good friend Rich Mogul was at WWDC, and he wrote an interesting article today. Apple flexes its privacy muscles. Now, I know you talked to a bunch of developers while you were at WWDC. Does privacy come up in those conversations with you? Is it something that they think about, concerned about, talk about? Give us a sense from being on the ground if privacy is an issue for developers.
You know what? It's funny, but developers just seem to expect it. So it's not something that is talked about because it's always there.
Yeah.
we did, we talked about the keynote and, the emphasis on privacy and all of that kind of stuff. And that all went very well, but developers aren't saying, wow, I was really shocked that they had privacy. It's part of who Apple is. It's part of what they do, and developers know that. So there's no real discussion about it.
Tim Cook has said on many occasions that he believes privacy is a basic human right. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, well, the way that other companies are treating its customers, and I think it is. We're getting to the point now where I think we're surveilled a lot these days. You look at CCTV in London, and it's it's everywhere. And no matter where you go, but there's an argument to be made that that's necessary for safety. But some of the other stuff that's going on the internet is not really necessary for our safety. In fact, it may do the opposite.
Yeah.
Because we're surveilled there too, but in a lot of ways, it's more insidious than it is for cameras and things like that, because we're just tracked no matter where we go. So, people have said before and have tried to, use private browsers and use all of this kind of stuff, but the fact is we're still tracked.
Yeah.
So, I'm happy with the privacy that I have on Apple products. And I was setting up the new iOS 13, and one of the settings that I went in, I forget what it was now, but it said, basically, Apple doesn't know anything about you. We don't want to know anything about you for this setting. This is for you, and that's it.
Yep.
So they're being very explicit, even in settings. Excuse me. So I'm happy with it.
I think Apple's going to have an uphill battle with this, because unfortunately far too many people don't recognize, we may not even realize how much we're being surveilled, both intentionally and sometimes unintentionally. Intentionally from the point of view of, if you have a security camera in your home that's linked to Amazon, someone at Amazon can be watching what you're doing. And 95% of the time what you're doing is innocuous, but that's really not the point. The issue comes in when people who you don't want to have your data have access to it. Again, Amazon was found to have some of their employees listening in on Alexa conversations. That's a little offensive. It's remarkably stupid of them too. But Apple seems to be swimming upstream on this, not only from a point of view of manufacturers, Amazon and Google and Facebook, but also even from its potential customers. Do you think that the average person really even cares about privacy, at least to the extent that Apple does?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this many times, and I don't think that the average person does care about privacy, and I think Facebook is a perfect example. Yeah. If the average person did care about privacy, Facebook wouldn't have made $26 billion last quarter, but they did. So I really don't think that they do. And if I went out to 100 people right now and said, look up the Boston Bruins on the internet, 99 of them would go to Google.
Sure. Yep. You're right.
And those could be people that even are concerned about privacy, but our habits are that's what we do.
Yep.
And I am no different. I'm not saying that, I would be the one that wouldn't. I would just bring up Google and type it in.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, but I do care to a certain extent about my privacy. But, there's also convenience. And, I know that that's a big thing too. I'm just amazed at how much information. I think as a society, we would be frightened to death to find out how much information these companies have on us.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we even know the tip of the iceberg of what they have on it.
I think we've also got a downside in that our elected officials know less about this stuff than we do as average consumers. We've seen on many occasions in the U.S. and certainly in Canada where the people who are charged with hopefully understanding the issues involved literally have no freaking clue, and companies with ulterior motives can run roughshod over our legislators because the legislators are just, for the most part, a bunch of old white guys who don't understand this stuff. That, to me, is sometimes even scarier.
And then they beg for free Wi-Fi.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, that's a serious problem.
Yep.
When they have a question, whether it's in Canada, the UK, the US, whatever, when they have a question period where they're going to ask these tech executives about this stuff, they should have, a senator or parliamentarian or whatever, but they also should have somebody there that knows the technology.
Yeah.
And let them ask some questions.
Yep.
I think that's what they should do. They have to do something because these people that are asking the questions have no idea what the answer means. Even if they get the question right, they don't know what the answer means.
I think
and then they still beg for free Wi-Fi.
I think one of the problems too is that people who we feel should know better aren't acting like they know better. There was a story this morning that Shazam can now identify songs playing through your headphones in Android. How about iOS? And I saw a bunch of comments going, yeah, I want that on iOS, without thinking about what that actually means. What you're saying is you want your headphones listening in on everything that you say and do and hear, and collating that information, comparing it to a database, and then returning information back to you. No, I don't want that. Do you want your headphones to be 24/7 on and listening to the environment around you? That seems to me to be dumb, but so many commenters in the Mac media went, yeah, why does not iOS have that? Because it's a bad idea. That's why.
And Apple owns that company.
Exactly. How come Apple does this for Windows? Because they don't know Android. And I'm like, because they don't give a crap about Android guys.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. But, that's kind of what I was talking about with the convenience. I mean, we want these cool things, but, do we look at the consequences or even the little ramifications of having those cool things?
That's right.
And oftentimes the answer is no, we don't.
How much of it is us just being remarkably lazy? That we're moving towards the world of Wall-E. We're all just sitting in big fat easy chairs. How hard is it to open up Shazam and say, hey, listen to this. What's this song playing? As opposed to it being constantly recorded. We're giving up. We're getting these minor conveniences and giving up a lot when it comes to privacy and data protection. I think that's a problem I have with it too, is these little minor things. Like, for example, the story that came out, I think it was yesterday, Walmart employees will soon deliver groceries directly into your fridge. No, they frickin' won't.
No, they won't.
Not in my house, they won't.
I mean, that's like Amazon, going into your house or your car to put in a package. No.
But at least Amazon is just opening up the door and dropping it on the inside, or opening up your trunk and putting it in. This is someone going into my house and putting my eggs and cream away. No, he doesn't know where it goes, okay? It goes on the right-hand side, you doofus. But yeah, I think
that wouldn't happen.
That's just another example of people wanting a minor bit of convenience for an unknown amount of data security. And sure, Walmart says they've got checks and balances in place, but that doesn't matter. Once that data gets on someone's computer, especially of a company that also, like many others, historically hasn't been the most security conscious. Now, again, so someone knows when I bought eggs. That's not the point. The point is you're giving up significant amounts of data for minor bits of convenience.
Yeah. Agreed.
Speaking of convenience, now this is a big convenience. I want to know, you and I have talked about this in the past. I want to know, I saw the story. Here's what Uber's flying taxis and skyports could look like. Did you see this story?
No.
Uber can't get their poop in a group when it comes to people in cars, right? And there's all this kerfuffle about employees versus contractors and people not even making a minimum wage and a tax and that kind of stuff. It's obvious that Uber wants to become a company that doesn't need drivers with self-driving cars and those sorts of things. But now they've actually gotten permission from the city of Dallas in Texas to start working on Uber flying taxis. Would you get into a flying taxi that's got no driver?
No.
Not a freaking chance.
No.
I'd have to see the gun. Show me the gun that you're going to use to get me into this flying taxi.
Just not going to happen.
I'm not a giant fan of autonomous cars. Certainly not within the next 5 years. But these guys are saying, if all goes according to plan, Uber Air flying taxis will take off in Dallas, Los Angeles, and Melbourne, Australia in 2023. They're going to be vertical takeoff and landing vehicles similar to a helicopter. Will carry 4 passengers at low altitudes from skyports in each metro area. It'll cost
It'll cost how much?
$5 a mile. Now, I don't know that I even like the idea, but I think this is another example when we were talking earlier about privacy of our technology going so fast and us so able to do these things that our legislatures, that our lawmakers don't understand the consequences of these kinds of things. And they're going to allow this stuff because for them, it sounds convenient. These guys in Washington, oh yeah, getting from downtown DC out to the airport in 10 minutes in a helicopter is very convenient for me. So I'm going to allow this. But the technology isn't yet there for autonomous cars that are only going to move in 2 dimensions. Now you want inside the next 2023, inside the next 4 years, to have autonomous flying vehicles in 3 dimensions? That's insane.
That does sound insane. I don't know what else to say about it.
Not doing it.
I mean, I'm not getting in one.
There's no way I'm getting in one. Not a chance. Not a chance. And I live quite a ways away from the airport, so you'd think that I'd be the kind of person who would like this kind of thing for the convenience. Because right now, in public transit here in Vancouver, when we went to Portugal, we went to Lisbon last March, it took 4.5 hours from my front door to the airport on public transit.
Oh my God.
And that was we first took a boat, and then we took a bus, and then we took a train, and then we walked.
Well, let's be honest. It wasn't a boat. It was a canoe.
It was a largish canoe. We had to paddle ourselves, but you got a little bit of exercise in first thing in the morning. I got a problem with that. Hey, we talked about on last week's show, it's interesting now that a week has gone by since the keynote speech last Monday. People are starting to wrap their minds more around what's going on. And there was something that you said in your story about the Mac Pro shows Apple cares about pro users. And there was something about that sort of just didn't sit right with me. And I realized what it was earlier this morning reading some more comments about it. There's no reviews. There's no hands-on reports with this stuff. Do you see a problem with Apple? And Apple does this on its own website. Apple says that creatives will love the new Mac Pro. But Apple's definition of creatives seems to be solely focused on high-end music and video production people. There's no...
photography and 3D.
And 3D, exactly. I mean, the high-end, those kind of high-end folks. There doesn't seem to be any middle ground for those folks who are creative professionals who need a powerful machine but don't need the equivalent reference monitor of the Apple Pro display, who don't need 12 PCI slots.
I don't agree with you.
Really?
There are options. There's an iMac, an iMac Pro. There's a MacBook Pro.
Yep.
There are lots of options for those mid-range to high mid-range people. And the fact that Apple focused on the very high end with this new one is exactly what they needed to do. Because what they did last time was focus on the prosumer, and they put out the Trashcan Mac Pro, and it just did not work for high-end people. So now they have the iMac Pro, which they did not have before when that Trashcan Mac Pro came out. That's a recent addition. Mm-hmm. So they have the iMac Pro, and they have a regular iMac. But the iMac Pro is a beast of a machine.
Yes, it is.
So that's the machine right there for the prosumers. I mean, I'm doing all my audio stuff on an iMac.
Yeah,
and it works great. Would I love to have a Mac Pro? Absolutely. Was it built for me? Not a chance.
Yeah. I think it's some of these pros that I'm reading about just feel left out from the point of view that Apple didn't say this is the machine for you. You know what I mean? That this is the machine for Photoshop users. This is the machine for illustrators.
But they already have that.
They do.
Have it in the iMac Pro. That is their machine. Giddy up, go buy it.
There's a lot of folks who want a machine that's between the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro from the point of view of customization, of being able to add. You can't add anything to the iMac Pro. Once you buy it, that's it.
What do they need to add that they couldn't add externally?
They could add VGI cards. PCI cards, RAM.
Whoa. What kind of PCI cards would they possibly need as a prosumer that is not already in the iMac Pro?
No, you're saying prosumer. I'm talking about professional. I'm not talking prosumers. You're right. The iMac Pro is a great prosumer machine.
Okay.
I'm talking about professionals who want to do professional level work.
Well, then they have the Mac Pro if that's what they want. If they want PCI cards and things like that, they have the Mac Pro.
But there's no doubt the Mac Pro is overkill for someone who's using Photoshop, for someone who's doing design work in Illustrator, for someone doing those kinds of things that don't require 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 PCI slots, but maybe they want 1 or 2 extra ones for video or that expandability going in the future. And they want to be able to add a bigger SSD card at some point in the future or more RAM or that kind of stuff. Basically, the machines, the Power Mac 7600, I saw some reference, was a great pro machine.
But I don't understand what they couldn't add externally on an iMac Pro that they would need a PCI card in a Mac Pro.
Can you add an external video card to an iMac Pro?
But why would you need an external video card with that monitor that's on the Mac Pro?
Multiple monitors.
That display is pretty hot.
It is,
hot.
but speaking from experience, I got 2 monitors here, and I like having 2 monitors. I've got my lovely 27-inch Retina display monitor, but I've got another monitor over there. So you can what you do when you're using, say, Photoshop or Lightroom in my case, I'll have my main monitor is going to be where I'm doing the editing, and then my secondary monitor is where the edits show up. So I can see them or show them to somebody else who's not looking over my shoulder. There's all kinds of reasons for it.
Well, I then go buy a Mac Pro.
Yeah, but like I said, the Mac Pro is overkill. Not only at price point, even a lot of folks will have a maxed out iMac Pro that probably comes close to the base model of the Mac Pro, but they don't have the expandability. They don't have the accessibility. They can't, like I said.
So get a bottom-of-the-line Mac Pro. It's going to be fast as anything. And it's expandable if you want it.
Yep,
and
true.
It's the same price.
Yeah, I'm not completely disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I know there's a lot of folks out there who would like that mid-range, mid-level Mac Pro-ish type machine that's more than an iMac Pro, but less than a Mac Pro. And I don't think Apple's going to do that, though, to be honest with you.
I don't think that they will. I don't think that I think they see the iMac Pro, the MacBook Pro, and perhaps even the iMac as those mid-range computers. Yeah. I mean, come on, the iMac Pro is more on the high end than mid-range. It's a powerful machine.
let's move on. It looks like the folks at Goldman Sachs are on a listening tour. They've been out pimping the Apple Card for a while now. The CEO was at the Recode convention yesterday, and he said that he's been using the Apple Card, although he didn't show it off to anybody. Other employees at Goldman Sachs and at Apple have been using it out in public, which is to be expected. The card is expected to be released this coming summer. Do you see, is the Apple Card going to be a lot of hype without a whole lot of uptake, or do you really think that the Apple Card can and will make a sea change in the credit card industry?
That's a good, now see, that part is a good question. Do I think it's going to be popular? Absolutely, it's going to be popular. I mean, people are going to flock to it, yeah. I think, just because of the coolness factor and the way that it's done on your phone. I mean, all the information that you get about your card and your balance, yep. All that kind of stuff. That's going to be hugely popular, I think. Will it make a change? A massive change like that? Man, I don't know. No. I don't know. It is a new way to do things, and again, all done with privacy in mind. Yep. So, there are enough people out there pissed off at their credit card providers where they could just, say, screw you.
Sure. But are they, the question I would have is, and I'm in the group of people, and I'm as pissed off as anybody with our credit card providers here in Canada. But that being said, are you pissed off enough to give up all the things the Apple Card doesn't seem to have in order to either be perceived as a fanboy or to get the bits of data that Apple is offering consumers?
I mean, that's going to be a personal choice for everybody. Because no matter what bank you go to or credit card provider, they have a travel card, they have a points card, they have this card and that card, and you can do all this stuff kind of card. But Apple doesn't really do any of that. Yep. But they do give you money back, like cash. So that's a thing. So I think, yes, people will get it for their, definitely as a secondary card. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them move pretty quickly into, being some people's number one card. But, it's all going to depend on each person. Everybody loves to collect airline miles, even though the airlines don't honor them most of the time. Yep. But they still love to collect those miles. So, it's just going to depend on the individual.
I think the Apple Card is going to be one of the most interesting marketing campaigns Apple's ever done, because there are so many people out there, and maybe a lot of people don't know what their present credit card offers. I'm the information junkie, so I know all the stuff that our three family cards offer, and I know when to use this card versus when to use that card and how to pay that card off, kind of thing. So maybe I'm an outlier when it comes to knowing the ins and outs of the details of this thing. But as far as I can see, the Apple Card does not offer so many things that even a basic CIBC, that's the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce here in Canada, CIBC Visa card offers. It does now offer, for example, car rental insurance. My car, I don't have to buy car rental insurance anymore when I travel because my CIBC credit card covers that. The Apple Card won't.
As long as you pay for it with that credit card. Yes,
as long as I pay for it with that credit card. Same with trip cancellation insurance. If I buy my trip on the card, I've got a certain amount of trip cancellation insurance. They double the warranty of whatever product I buy. So if I buy a MacBook Pro on my CIBC credit card and it's got 1 year of Apple Care, I get 2 years automatically from CIBC. Even Apple doesn't offer that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be very hard for them to, with the things that other credit card providers can provide, the data stuff is going to be easy. I guarantee you that Visa and MasterCard are working on getting us that kind of data stuff now because they can see people like it.
100 years. What took them so long?
Oh, that's a good point. That's the same thing as the iPhone. Same thing as the iPod. When those devices came out, they were simple. There wasn't anything special about them in general, but no one else did it because no one else had the impetus to do it. Now they're going to have the impetus to do it and be further ahead than the Apple Card. If the thing you're getting the Apple Card for is for daily cashback or for this data, CIBC Visa is going to say, oh, fine, here's your 32 cents a day. Here is your data on what you sold. And you get trip insurance, you get warranty protection, you get price protection, that kind of stuff. Again, things that Apple doesn't offer.
That's what pisses me off, because they're only doing that because they're forced into it.
Yep.
And before that, they would screw us every turn.
Absolutely. But is that enough impetus for people to give up their full featured card for this fairly middle of the road, maybe even low end card? I don't think so.
It wasn't before, but now I'm pissed off that you said all that, and I thought about it. So now, yeah.
But I think that's the thing. People don't think about this stuff. They don't realize what they're getting with their present cards versus the Apple Card. Yeah, the Apple Card is going to be cool. It's going to be kind of neat to be able to use it on your phone or get this cool titanium card. Ooh. But I'm more pragmatic about this stuff. What does the card offer me that my other cards don't? I'm not going to have this in addition to the other three cards I have. I'm going to get rid of one of those three cards. And none of them are beaten by the Apple Card the way it is now, except for daily cash back, which I don't care about, and the data that I can get off the Apple Card.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what I said. It's going to have to be a choice for people. And, when you look at different cards and options, and, you have a family, so you want this protection. You rent cars a lot, so you need that. I mean, you end up paying for it one way or another.
Yes.
You either have an annual fee or a higher interest rate or,
Yep.
So one way or another, this isn't free stuff.
Yes, that's right.
So
let's wrap up with this one last one. Now that iTunes has been put out to pasture, it's not dead yet. It's gone to a farm upstate in New York. It's being split up into separate functionalities. There was an interesting story on... I think it was Dave posted Rolling Stone on the 10-year anniversary of iTunes. Look back at how Steve Jobs turned the music industry upside down. And one of the commenters on The Loop had a really interesting comment. He said, Jobs single-handedly took away the ability for musicians to make money selling their physical price by devaluing to an arbitrary number. No one can make money anymore. Thanks, Steve Jobs. Is that your take on iTunes?
Well, I know the arguments for and against, but iTunes still allowed people to make money because of the purchasing of songs. So it went from purchasing of albums to purchasing of songs. And that was a big shift, but musicians were still making money during that time period. What I would say, if anything took money away from them, it's streaming.
Yeah.
The streaming services took money away from them. And, come on. I mean, before iTunes, there was Napster.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, that was taking money away from them. So it's the people that wanted everything for free that took money away from musicians. Yeah. That's who people should be blaming. So if you know somebody with a 40 terabyte drive full of music, put a drill bit through that. Because it's those people that are preventing musicians from making money on the music that they wrote.
There certainly is an argument to be made that very much like we said before about the credit card companies not changing until they're forced to change. The music industry didn't change until it was forced to change as well. We all, no, we don't. Maybe you folks, some of you folks aren't young enough or aren't old enough to remember back in the day, you'd buy an album and you'd get 2, maybe 3 good songs and then 9 to 10 songs of just crap, stuff that shouldn't have been on any album. And that album cost you $15.
Yeah.
So when iTunes came along and it said, you can buy the album or you can buy just the 2 good songs and it'll cost you less than $2, we all jumped on that like it was what we called it, eye crack.
Yeah.
And we bought thousands and thousands and thousands of individual songs. I think iTunes may have led to, if not the death of, but certainly the devaluing of the album.
Yep.
And also caused artists to have to either renegotiate contracts or deal with not making as much money. Also, Billboard, the platinum sales that people were bragging about before don't happen anymore. Now, most songs don't get to gold status. So there's only 100,000 sales. So I think there is an argument to be made that iTunes certainly damaged the record industry, but they were on the way to being even more damaged without iTunes because of Napster.
Absolutely.
I don't think they'd be anywhere near. If iTunes hadn't come along, we were all still ripping stuff from Napster, the music industry might be completely dead from a label point of view. Our artists will still put up their songs on websites and say, hey, please buy this song for 99 cents. But record labels themselves will be dead and gone. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I still buy albums of bands that I love.
Yeah.
You know, Ozzy comes out with an album, I'm buying it.
It's an automatic buy? You don't listen to it beforehand?
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't even need to.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm good with that.
I certainly will also believe that iTunes when in its heyday, really limited to the discovery of new music for me anyway. I tended to listen to the music I'd already bought and paid for and knew I liked. Streaming, on the other hand, has really opened up new music for me because it was like when we were kids listening to the radio. Streaming we use Spotify. I know you are a fan of Apple Music. Streaming for me, I'll just click one of these stations, just listen to songs for 6-7 hours and maybe discover one or two bands or one or two songs I really like, and then I'll pay for that song or that band. So I think there's an upside and downside to iTunes. I don't think the story's been completely written as to how iTunes will will have affected the entire industry for another 5-10 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple. I have to let him go because it's 4 o'clock Pacific time right now. The Boston Bruins are playing the St. Louis Blues in an hour, so Jim has to get pre-gamed. He has to have down at least a 6-pack of Heineken between now and then. And then in 3 hours' time, check him on Twitter because it's going to be funny as hell.
Oh my God! Don't even go there.
I think
I got butterflies in my stomach.
In my defense, I think it's going to be funny regardless, whether they win or they lose. St. Louis, I mean.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for doing this, Jim. Appreciate
it. Thank you.
Have a good, enjoy the game, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Welcome back, folks, to Your Mac Life. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. Joined as always by my lovely wife, Melissa. Melissa has a question. This is the I Have a Question with Melissa segment. Melissa, take it away, my love.
My question is, well, as you know, we have a 13-year-old.
Lovely child.
He is. So I just had questions because I was thinking, well, you know, what could I get him that he's been asking for? So it came up in my head about AirPods.
Yes.
So my question is, are they something that you should get for a 13-year-old? And I don't know very much about them. And is it worthwhile? Is it a good product, etc.?
That's an interesting question because it's different than if you were buying it for yourself. Buying it for a 13-year-old, even a responsible 13-year-old like Rory is.
He's a responsible Mac man. He's very good.
He is. He's very good that way. But it's still a very tiny little device that's easy to lose, even for adults. So, you know, he goes to school, he's got a backpack, he throws things in the backpack wrong, he misses it, or whatever. It falls out of his head. He's not an athletic kid. He's in perfectly good shape. A little effort's a
little mountain goat.
Mountain goat when he goes up some mountain.
Yeah.
It's a mountain. If I can have a heart attack and die on it, it's a mountain. So no, he's in very good shape, but he's not. He doesn't play sports. So it's not like he's going to be jogging with him in his ears, or playing sports or that kind of stuff.
No.
The problem I have with it is that with his present use of the earpods that he likes very much, he uses all the time. but he doesn't use them for music. He uses it to watch videos on his phone, on his iPhone 5, and to watch Netflix movies, so he doesn't disturb everybody else in the house, unlike his brother. So the sound quality, and to be frank with you, I don't think the sound quality of the AirPods is great. It's good, but it ain't great. But he's 13, doesn't care. But he's not going to be using those features. He doesn't use Siri on any kind of regular basis. He uses it to do silly 13-year-old boy stuff.
Mm-hmm. But I would like him to develop that
maybe
as he gets older in school and stuff to organize.
He's not going to need it for the double tap to skip songs and things like that, because think of the AirPods mostly targeted at listening to music.
So that's what they're for joggers and things like that.
Yeah, kind of. Or just people walking on the streets. They're basically the same headphones as the ones that came with your iPhone, the EarPods with the wire. It's functionally the same thing. They've got a little bit of more power to them, but for the most part, that's what they're perceived to be for, is listening to music. That's what
MacMan's asking what iPhone he has.
iPhone 5.
A 5, yes.
So I don't think he'll even be able to take advantage of most things that the AirPods can do.
All right.
Apple says it has to be a Mac. It has to be an iPhone running iOS 12.2, I think. And I don't think his iPhone can do that.
Yeah, MacMan says no.
No.
Needs a 5S up. All right. Okay.
So there's that. And this is a personal feeling. I don't like the idea, and maybe this just comes from my own personal background, of giving children expensive electronics like that. That's Canadian is going to be over $220.
Well, how much was his phone?
It was free. His grandma gave it to him. No, seriously, that makes a big difference.
But it still cost a lot of money.
It did, but not to him, not to us.
Not to us, no.
That being the case, I'd rather see him get a new iPod Touch. I think he'd get more of that with a better camera for photography. It'll do the augmented reality stuff. It'll do all the things it'll do except make phone calls, but that's a concern of yours and completely understandable.
Yeah, I want the phone call thing.
Yeah, you want to be able to. You want him to be able to make phone calls.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The only other option we have is for a phone is to upgrade to a 7 or an 8, but then we're increasing our monthly phone bill by $70.
Oh, no.
We're not doing that for a 13-year-old.
No.
So I don't think this is a good use of the money.
All right.
Of $210, $220.
Okay.
For a 13-year-old who isn't into music.
Okay.
The earpods he's got now are perfectly good. He likes them. He's taking care of them.
He takes very good care of them.
He's taken very good care of them after I taught him how to do it properly.
His stepdad showed him, and he does it diligently.
Yep.
Takes care of them.
And he walks around with them all the time. Now, we could look to getting maybe knockoff AirPods that are like $50.
Well, he looks at those, and I always say to him, no. Like I would. You mean like not Apple ones?
They're not Apple ones, yeah. They won't have the same functionality, won't have the same power. The other issue, too, is, and this is not widespread, but it is a concern, a lot of people have been complaining that after about a year and a half, the battery life on their AirPods has dropped to an hour or 2 hours.
Wow.
And he's using his AirPods 5-6 hours at a time. His regular earpods on a regular basis 4, 5, 6 hours a day.
Wow.
So if in a year to a year and a half, the battery life on those things has dropped to an hour, that would piss me off.
So do they become useless then?
Once they can't keep a charge, yes, absolutely. Once it's like, it's battery powered. If it can't hold a charge for whatever period of time, then yeah, it's functionally useless. They can't be used in any way except with battery power.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. It's very, very useful information for me. Because as a mum that doesn't know much, I would go, oh, well, that might be a nice idea, you know, a good present for when he's 14, but I won't look at that now. I'd rather save to get a new iPad with the pencil.
Yes, take that $230.
And put it towards that and get his dad to put in and get the pencil because he's an artist.
Yes.
So I won't.
But you got to get an iPad Pro with that.
Yes.
Okay, so you get the combination.
Yes.
That would have much more use for him.
All right.
Because of his drawing ability and his strong desire. And the fact that he can use it, we get a keyboard for him. Then next year he can write reports on it. He can do a bunch of other things.
I love that. Okay, so that's what we'll go for. We'll build our way up to that. Thank you.
MacMan says all current iPads can use the pencil, so even one of the smaller ones. So yeah, I like the idea of the AirPods, but there's not enough upside, especially when it comes to battery life, that gives me pause. We're not rich. We're not going to be able to buy new AirPods every.
Oh, I didn't know the thing about the
18
batteries.
months. Again, it's not consistent. It's not everyone.
But it's happening.
But it's happening. It's happening enough to make me worry about the future of the batteries, because they're little tiny batteries and they go through a lot of charges. Yeah, DH physics of batteries. There are a certain number of recharge cycles. I run my iPad mostly with a USB connected to charger. That's just, like I said, we were talking about this earlier. That's the nature of batteries. They all run down after a period of time. The smaller the battery is, the more likely it is to run down over a shorter period of time. And they all have a limited number of discharge and charge cycles.
But won't they, and this is a non-nerdy question, I have no idea, but won't they one day, shouldn't they design them that you can actually stick them in a USB port and then...
Well, no, that's what the case is for. The case
so
is
the
the
case
charger.
does that.
Yeah, the case is a little battery all by itself, and you charge the case.
And then the actual AirPods have a battery in them.
Yes. When you drop them into the case, they take the juice out of the battery case and put it into the AirPod. It's a clever way of doing things.
Yes.
Because what that means is that you generally don't have to have as big a battery in the AirPods because they're getting juice from the case that it sits in.
Right.
That whenever you take them out, you put them in the case for safety.
Right.
But you have the added advantage of, while you're being safe, you're also charging them up. So when he goes to a class, he would take them out, drop them in.
Put them in his case.
Put the case in his pocket. While he's in class, that hour or whatever it might be, it's charging up. So
they are clever.
It's a very clever design. MacMan says if you buy AirPods, I get the extended service plan just for the battery. Yeah, we would definitely do that.
Oh, right.
And yeah, the battery in each AirPod craps out after 18 months from a lot of reports. Now it's just anecdotal.
Interesting.
But there's enough reports to make me go, especially because this is going to be a device for a 13, 14-year-old kid. And it means in a year and a half, you have to rebuy the damn thing at $220 a piece.
Oh, yeah. No.
But don't want to do that. In the starting point for Dogby segment 4 tonight's show, we had some lovely friends come up from Nashville, Tennessee. Cammie and Kelly. And some of you guys will remember Kelly. Kelly was involved in the show. We were in Nashville, Tennessee. She was at Macworld Expos with us several times. Lovely, beautiful women. So great to see them. And I loved how much they enjoyed the Pacific Northwest. Their plan, they didn't have a plan. They were flying into Seattle, and then they were going to do whatever it was that we're going to do. And so I went into the city on Friday to meet and greet them, give them a little tour. The idea was I'll give them a little tour of Vancouver. They'll come over and meet Melissa, hang out in our little town, and then they'd go somewhere else on Saturday. They were here on Monday. They stuck around.
We gave them a really good time. They didn't want to leave us.
Cammie might be moving back here. I mean,
I think she might.
So yeah, they really enjoyed the area. So the last day, we're going to take pictures. And I've already posted some pictures you may have seen on Melissa's Instagram feed or mine, pictures of folks, and Cammie and Kelly posted a bunch on their Instagram feeds. Cammie was enamored of the clouds. For some reason, she thought the clouds were different here than they were. Granted, ours have snow-covered mountains, so maybe that helps. So last day, a friend is going to take another friend, Corey, lovely, is going to take a picture of us for us to memorialize this lovely weekend. So Corey takes a picture, and I could just tell from where Corey's standing, it's not going to. I said, Corey, dear, are you sure you're close enough? And she was like, oh. And she took a couple of steps forward. And I'm like, that's not going to be good enough. But I didn't want to say anything to Corey right then and there in the moment. I didn't want to say, I know, you big doofus. I don't want to take the camera and go, that's a shitty photo, So
teachable moment, though, Mr. King.
I agree with you now. Now I think about it, you're right.
She wouldn't have minded. She would have gone, bring it on, tell me what to do.
I screwed up. So look at the photo, and the photo is we're over there, and there's a lot of dead space around her. She didn't get close enough. And it got me to thinking about this segment I want to do in the show about portrait photography. And portrait photography is just generally photos of people in a posed situation. If you're out in the street and you're snapping photos of strangers as they walk by, that's street photography. Portrait photography is thought of more as a, not necessarily formal, but more posed. The person knows you're shooting them. They're looking at you, or you're giving the direction, stand here, look here, that kind of thing. And most of us do a lot of portraits of friends and family. We will often just take pictures of friends sitting around a table, or at the zoo with a lion behind you, or whatever it is. These posed photos. And I'd be willing to bet they are probably the first or second most common type of photo that people take. Probably buildings and still lifes, and then portraits, or vice versa. So if you're going to be taking a lot of portrait photos, you should learn how to take them well. And for the most part, it's fairly easy. It's another one of the things about photography I absolutely love. To do it well doesn't take a lot of knowledge, doesn't take a lot of gear, doesn't take a lot of skill. It just takes some thinking and practice. I posted up on The Loop. Apple has a video from this documentarian and street photographer. And it's really neat that this guy, who is a professional documentarian and photographer, is using his iPhone to take these pictures. The other cool thing was that they use the iPhone to take the video. Apple's doing a lot of that now. And he talks about, one of the things he talks about off the very beginning, is that he's trained himself to see light, to look for backgrounds, to look for this kind of stuff. And we'll watch the video if you get a chance. It's on Apple's YouTube site. And especially the first few minutes when he talks about that stuff, because that's so important. As I always tell my classes, that we don't take pictures of dark in photography. We take pictures of the light, or light. So you have to start seeing light. You have to start seeing the way light reflects, the way it shines, the way it casts shadows, the way it bounces out of puddles, the way a fluorescent light will shine someone's face versus sunlight. You've got to start paying attention to that kind of. So that's the most important thing in a portrait photo, is the light. You can't just say to someone, okay, stop there, I'm going to take a picture. You have to say, here's the light in this situation. Where's the best place for me to put this person? And if it helps, don't tell them this. But if it helps, treat that person like an object. Just think of them as Alfred Hitchcock used to say, actors are just cattle. You just order them around, and they don't actually matter. They're just cattle. So it helps for you to think of it that way. Think of it that way. This person is an object that you are going to manipulate and move around, so that their face, which is what you're shooting, is in the best possible light. And that doesn't mean the light has to be right directly in front of them with no shadows. You decide how the light is going to be. And by paying attention to light, you'll start seeing that with very simple body movements, you can sculpt light. You can make the shot be moodier by having more shadows, say, across one side of their face, or down diagonally across their face, or very dreamy with the light directly in front of them. You saw the new feature that Apple's announced in iOS 13. It's called High Key Mono, and it really blows out the detail in someone's face. It makes their face look very smooth and flat and black and white. And it's kind of a neat effect sometimes. So the light doesn't have to be perfectly in front of them. They can be at angles. But what you want to do is you want to think about how you want to see their face. So something else I teach in the class is pre-visualize. Think about how you want the shot to end up. Right now it's a bright sunny day, so maybe I'm thinking about having a picture in the shadow or a half shadow on their face. So one side is brightly lit and the other side is dark. Okay, I'm thinking about that. Now how do I accomplish that? From where we are, what do I accomplish? I'm looking for a pretty background. I'm looking for a brick background or a plain background or a blue background. How's that going to fit in with what I'm doing? So look for the light when you're doing this kind of stuff. The other thing particularly important, especially for beginners when it comes to portrait photography, is, you'll hear this a lot, fill the frame. You've decided to take a picture of a person's face. Hopefully that face is so interesting, you want it to be as big as possible in the frame of your shot. Here's an example I took of Melissa. We were at, come on, you stupid thing. We were at Melissa's 45th birthday party. And I took this photo of her, but I couldn't get any closer. So, from where I was sitting. So in the edit, I got closer in the edit. I simply cropped it so that I filled the frame with the person. I made her as important to the picture as I wanted. The balloon in the background was cute, but it wasn't what I wanted to focus on. What I wanted to focus on was this beautiful person in this gorgeous dress with this neat little background we had back there. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You want to get as close as you can to the person, whether you're using your iPhone or a DSLR. Hopefully the person that you're with is comfortable enough with you that they're okay with that. It's your significant other, it's a husband, a boyfriend, a wife, whatever. That they're okay with you getting almost inside their personal space, especially with an iPhone. You can get very, very close to somebody with an iPhone. So when you've decided on the light, you've decided on the angle that you want them to be in, and again, you don't have to be standing directly in front of them. You can have them looking this way and you look this way. But one of the problems with that, and people don't think about this, when you start manipulating portrait people, if I tell you to look this way, and I'm standing directly in front of you, I tell you to look that way, look what happens to my eyes. You're seeing a lot of the white of my eyes, especially someone who has big eyes, and that doesn't look good. So even if you have them looking that way, you want their eyes looking towards you, so their eyes are the biggest thing in the shot. If they're looking this way and they've got big eyes, you'll see that, what's it called? The corpuscular? What's that? There's the iris is the front bit. What's the white bit on your eye called? For all you Jeopardy fans.
It's not coming to me.
Okay. But anyway, that's that part. And you don't want that big blob of white.
No, I suppose not.
Right there. So so if you turn their nose that way, you can have their eyes look at you this way.
Okay, that's an interesting hint.
Did you quit out of the
No.
IRC Chapman for a reason?
Oh,
Sclera. That's it. DH says sclera. Thank you, DH. You are correct. The sclera.
Goodness.
I was starting with a C. So keep that in mind. That you don't have to have the shot straight on. You can have them turn their head. You can have them turn their body. You can have them. One of the things I do is when I'm conscious of being photographed, for whatever reason, I have little beady piggy eyes.
No, you don't.
Thank you. But I do squint.
I have
piggy
eyes.
You don't have big, you have beautiful green eyes. I try to open my eyes without raising my eyebrows. Try to open my eyes just a little wider, just to give a little more, so little less. Because when I smile, they squint. So I
me
try to
too. Yes. Corpuscular.
No, that's sclera is what we're talking about. Yeah, corpuscular is animals who are active at twilight. Oh. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. That's a good piece of trivia.
Yes, it is. So again, you don't have to be straight on. When you turn someone's face, have them look into your camera. And that's the other thing you want to do, too, with the iPhone. You don't have your iPhone?
No.
People tend to look at the Apple logo in the iPhone. Point to where the iPhone lens is, so they're looking at the lens. I have to not have to, because she's out of practice. I do this with Melissa all the time. Melissa, look at me. And I'll tap up here to have her look into the camera lens.
It's his cue.
Not here. People will look at the Apple logo, but you want them looking into the camera lens itself. It's so tiny, people don't think about it. You have to, and same with if you're taking a selfie. See, so many people take selfie pictures and look at themselves in the selfie.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at yourself in the selfie. Look at the camera lens. So, lighting, pay attention to lighting. Fill the frame, get as close as you can to the person. And then the eyes. The eyes are the single most important thing in your portrait shot. Background, the color of the clothes they're wearing, the way their hair is, doesn't matter. If their eyes aren't in focus, your shot will be crap. It will not be a good portrait shot. The eyes have to be as sharp as you can get them, and there's a ridiculously easy way to do it on the Macintosh. Sorry, on the iPhone. You just tap on one of their eyes. It's dead simple. When you just point your iPhone at a scene, your iPhone does what most cameras do. It finds the thing that's closest to the iPhone lens and focuses on that. Okay, but wait, what if you've got someone holding a bouquet of flowers? They might focus on the iPhone might focus on the flowers, and they'd be all blurry. So if you want that kind of shot with something in between the person and your iPhone, just tap on one of their eyes, and you'll see the iPhone will and focus in on that person's eyes. That's true of people, pets, statues, whatever it is. You want to make sure that the eye is in focus. And generally it's the closest eye to the camera. So if they have their head turned one way or the other, you want to focus on that closest. Monty, the eyes must be tack sharp or just delete the shot. Exactly.
That's right.
And one of the hardest things to do, one of the things that takes the most amount of practice, it's easier the better you know the person, but it's still hard. Make them relax. You relax, they relax. You're not a professional shooter. You're not making money off of this. This is just a pretty photo that you want to make of this person to put on Instagram or to send to the kids or post on Facebook or maybe print out and put on a wall. Everyone relax. Don't get tense. Melissa is the worst for this. I'm not very photogenic. Look at that face. Look at that hair. Look at that smile.
I'm getting better. You get used to it.
I'm not very photogenic. Ugly people like me go, I'll screw you.
So not ugly.
So one of the things you do is joke around with the person. Just have some fun. I love telling people after I pose them, I can tell that they're a little tense, is, okay, now point your nose towards New York City. Everyone goes, huh? I don't know which way that is. And that moment after they understand the question, are confused by the question, then look back at you like, what are you, an idiot? Take a picture then. As soon as I start asking the question, I'm ready to shoot. And when I see that look come over the face of confusion, I start shooting then. And you'll get a series of shots. And one of those shots, when they look at you like, will be a good shot. Or tell people to imagine something funny, and you tell them what it is. Don't just say, imagine something funny. Imagine a giraffe in a top hat. See? Made her laugh. Simple things like that. But be ready for the shot. Don't say, okay, now hold that smile. They're not going to do that. You want to, you're not professionals. You're not going to be spending all day in this spot. Hopefully it's just you're walking around and there's a neat scene behind you. It's the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. It's the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. It's Stanley Park Causeway here in Vancouver, whatever it might be. You just see a nice little opportunity. Take the time, a very short period of time. And again, the more you practice this, I take pictures of Melissa now, and it takes me 1 or 2 shots in maybe 10, 15 seconds. I'll say, Melissa, hold right there. Look over there. Click, tap. Okay, now look up. Tap. Thanks. And we're done. Because I practiced it, because I pre-visualized the shot, I can imagine in my head what I'm going to see. I know which way the wind's blowing, so I will turn her face into the wind so her hair doesn't get in her face. So all that kind of stuff I'm thinking about beforehand. And it makes the pushing the button the least of all the things I have to do. The least thing I have to think about before I take my shot. Monty says, one of the best poses a Brad ever captured. My D300 autofocus on the tip of his nose. His eyes are just a tiny bit out of focus, but it's enough to throw the whole shot off. That's when he's using a lens with a very, very big aperture. Small number, big aperture. And literally the distance between your nose and someone's eye can be out of focus. If you're shooting with the iPhone, it's not that much of a concern. If you're shooting with a DSLR, you want your you either set it to aperture priority or portrait mode if you want to. Don't have your aperture set to the lowest possible number, because that's what will happen. If you focus on their nose, their eyes might be out of focus. So what you want to do is you want to have an aperture of, say, 4 or 5, and then focus on one of their eyes. That way you'll get the shot. Melissa says one of my favorites. What's one of your favorites? Do 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 do. See, the problem is your account's private, so we can't see your photos.
Oh my gosh! But Monty saw one.
Because Monty follows you.
Oh, Monty! No, Monty doesn't follow me.
Well, I'm here. Look, this is what it says when I click on those links. This account is private.
Darn it! Sorry, everyone. I was showing nice portraits and things and people shots. Darn it! Well. I guess I could make it not private for a while.
And MacMan has a good point with my 50mm Nifty 50 1.8. I get the best results around 2.8. That's the other thing too, is you practice with your lenses, your favorite lenses, to find out when you're going to get the best portrait shots. My 24-85, I know I get really nice portrait shots off that lens at around 75mm. That means I'm standing a little further back, but I do get nice portrait shots.
So I just changed it, so I don't know if that means that people can see.
No, the problem is you're going to get a lot of people following you now.
Oh, no, well, I just wanted people... Because I put one, and Monty said how handsome Damon was. So I thought everyone could see them. Cause
he is a disgustingly good-looking child. He's got good genes, though. That helps.
So no one can see them still? Sorry, everybody. Here I am posting all these.
No. You posted a picture of some guy. I don't know why you did that.
I love that photograph. Love it.
Now, tell the audience about that photograph. Was that posed?
Okay, so that photograph was taken way before my new phone. That was with my old phone. No, I wasn't. I didn't tell you what to do. You just kind of turned it around on your chair, and that's the position that you took, and I took it. I'm very proud of that photograph.
How much editing did you do?
Not very much, because I didn't know very much.
How about this one?
Oh, well, you edited that. That's the lovely edit by you.
So it doesn't take a lot of time to take a good portrait. It's an easy thing to do when you've got a decent phone, and like you said, the iPhone is even older iPhones are great iPhones. This is our gorgeous son Damon. He hates this picture, but
there's another one too. The one that Monty commented on before this one that I put up as well. And then there's another beautiful one. And again, I'm putting these up because they're taken with phones. And as we all do, I love the black and white. At times, I think it's just the best choice, isn't it? And with the editing that you've taught me, I mean, I'm getting better and better, and I'm enjoying it.
And that's the thing. That's the idea of practice, practice, practice.
Yes.
You're not going to get better at this stuff by accident. You're going to get better at this stuff by practicing it.
Exactly.
I don't know of many things that you can get better at without practicing it. This is the same as if when you were a kid and you played soccer, if you're a high schooler and you played basketball, if you're a cook and you make muffins. It's got to be practiced. It's got to be practiced. You've got to think about this stuff. But the advantage is the more you practice, the easier it gets, like most things. The more you practice, the more you think about photography. At some point, it'll be the less you think about photography. That you can take shots inside 5 seconds. Hey, hang on a second. Click, boom, thanks, moving on. So if you want to take better photos, think about your photos, practice your photos, and your photos will get better. Folks, that's it for this evening's show. I want to say thanks, as always, to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us here each and every Wednesday night. What's the final?
What's the score?
What's the score of the hockey game? Boston, St. Louis. Last time I heard it was 2-0 St. Louis, which will make me jump on Twitter and just rag him unmercifully. 2-0 second intermission. So Boston could still come back.
Well, they could, but where are they playing?
McMahon, where are they playing? Are they playing in St. Louis or Boston? Boston, better. Even better if they lose there.
Oh, my gosh. That's an interesting one of the dog that McMahon
It
got.
is, yeah. So thanks, Jim, for being here. Thanks to you guys. As always, thanks to my lovely wife, Melissa.
You're welcome.
If you have any questions for Melissa's I Have a Question segment, please send them along. Melissa at yourmaclifeshow.com. Yes, she has her own email address now. Melissa at yourmaclifeshow.com if you have any questions that you want her to ask on your behalf. And she'll even do it anonymously. So if you don't want to sound silly asking the question, let her sound silly asking the question.
Just between you and me.
Just between you. That's it, folks. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya.
Bye.